to make sure Britt's okay. Who is she?
You mean who was she? She's supposed to be dead.
The scent of expensive bourbon and old money clung to the air of Valentine Cassidy's penthouse, a stark contrast to the frantic, coffee and adrenaline aroma that usually followed Carly Spencer. She stood before the floor-to-ceiling windows, her reflection a ghost in the glass superimposed over the glittering, indifferent skyline of Port Charles. "This is a terrible idea," she stated, not for the first time, her voice tight. "You and me? Working together? It's like asking a mongoose and a cobra to redecorate a birdcage." Valentine swirled the amber liquid in his crystal tumbler, a faint, amused smile playing on his lips. "And yet here you are, Carly. The mongoose, I assume, in this colorful analogy. Which would, by default, make me the cobra." "I'm flattered." "Don't be," she snapped, turning to face him. Her energy was a live wire, sparking in the sterile, curated space. "I'm here because Brennan is a cancer. He's metastasized in this town, and he's got his hooks into my son. He turned Drew against me. He's manipulating Jason. He's a threat to everything I care about. And you," she gestured at him, a sweeping motion that took in his impeccably tailored suit and his infuriating calm. "You have resources I can't access. And a personal vendetta I can finally appreciate." Valentine's smile widened, but it didn't reach his eyes. They remained cool, calculating. "Cyrus Renault's replacement has proven to be disappointingly ambitious. Stealing my assets, moving in on my territory. It's bad for business. And bad manners." He set his glass down with a soft click. "So, we find common cause. You want to protect your family. I want to reclaim what's mine and remove an irritant. The enemy of my enemy, as they say." Carly crossed her arms, a defensive, stubborn posture. "Fine, but we do this my way. No unnecessary casualties. This isn't a Cassadine family picnic where people mysteriously fall into frozen lakes." "A low blow, even for you," Valentine chided, though he seemed more entertained than offended. But agreed. "We orchestrate a fall from grace, not a funeral. Though, if the latter happens to be a side effect of the former, I won't shed a tear." The plan was audacious, a high-stakes chess game played with human lives as pawns. It required precision, patience, and a level of trust that neither possessed. Their first meeting, in a soundproofed back room at the Savoy, was a study in contrasts. Carly laid out her intelligence, everything she gleaned from Drew's reluctant confessions, from Jason's guarded warnings, from her own network of sources. Brennan's shipping routes, his shell companies, his favorite haunts. Valentine listened, then superimposed his own layer of cold, corporate espionage. "He's laundering money through the Aurora Media Charitable Foundation," he revealed, pulling a file from his briefcase. "A very clever, very modern approach. He's not just a thug, he's a thug with an MBA. He's using Drew's good name and reputation to grease the wheels." Carly's blood ran cold. "He's using Drew as a shield." "Precisely. To take down Brennan, we must first dismantle the respectable facade. We need to make Drew Kane, and by extension Aurora Media, toxic to him." Their alliance became a clandestine operation. They were an unlikely duo, meeting in the shadows of Port Charles. A hushed conversation in the back of Kelly's, a tense exchange of documents in the hospital parking garage, a heated argument over encrypted text messages that stretched into the early hours. Carly was the fire, all impulse and gut instinct. Valentine was the ice, a strategist who thought 10 moves ahead. They clashed constantly. "We have Anna Devane sniffing around," Carly hissed during one meeting at the Metro Court pool after hours. "If we feed her that tip about the warehouse, she'll raid it." "And spook our prey," Valentine countered calmly. "Anna is a bloodhound. Point her in the right direction, and she will find the bone. But we must let her find it in her own time, or Brennan will know he's being hunted. We lay the breadcrumbs, Carly. We do not hand her the loaf." It was maddening, but it was also brilliant. Carly had to admit, grudgingly, that his methodical approach was working. A carefully leaked financial discrepancy to Scott Baldwin, who took it straight to a gleeful Diane Miller. An anonymous donation to the Peace PD Evidence Fund, earmarked for forensic accounting. A whisper in the ear of a curious journalist at the Invader about unusual shipments at the port, just as Anna was beginning to ask the same questions. They were building a prison around John Jagger, Kate's, brick by invisible brick. The tension came to a head over Drew. Brennan, feeling the pressure from the increased scrutiny, was pushing Drew to make a hostile move against a Cassidy-owned subsidiary. It was a blatant power grab, and Drew, still under Brennan's manipulative spell, was considering it. "He's going to ruin himself," Carly cried, pacing Valentine's penthouse like a caged tiger. "I have to talk to him. I have to make him see." "And say what?" Valentine asked, his voice dangerously quiet. "That you've joined forces with me? The man he distrusts almost as much as Brennan? You will blow the entire operation sky high and confirm every paranoid suspicion Brennan has planted in his mind. You will lose him forever. So, I'm just supposed to stand by and watch him crash and burn?" Her voice broke, the raw maternal fear slicing through her usual bravado. Valentine watched her, a strange, unreadable emotion flickering in his gaze. It wasn't pity. It was something closer to recognition. Sometimes, Carly, the only way to save someone is to let them stumble, so they can see the cliff's edge for themselves. We are not here to catch Drew. We are here to remove the person pushing him towards it. It was the hardest thing she'd ever had to do. To stand by, to smile tightly, to watch the man she loved be led astray, and not be able to scream the truth from the rooftops. Her only solace was her clandestine war council with the devil. The endgame began with a single, crucial piece of information. Valentine, through his labyrinthine network, acquired a digital key. A password that would unlock Brennan's most private, encrypted server, a server containing all his communications, his financial records, his orders. "We can't just hand this to Anna," Valentine said, his eyes gleaming with finality. "Brennan has moles in the PCPD. He'll know it was an inside job. We need a public spectacle. We need him to be exposed in a way he cannot spin, cannot hide from." Carly's mind raced, and then it clicked. The Aurora Media Anniversary Gala. He's the guest of honor. Drew is presenting him with some humanitarian award. A slow, grim smile spread across her face. "It's perfect. The entire elite of Port Charles will be there. The press, his supporters, his victims. The stage is set," Valentine nodded. "We just need the right actor to deliver the final line." The night of the gala was a study in surreal tension. The Metro Court ballroom was a sea of sequins and self-congratulation. Carly, in a stunning crimson gown, felt like a warrior in disguise. She made small talk. She kissed Drew's cheek, her heart breaking at the distance in his eyes. And all the while, she tracked Brennan's movements, a predator watching her prey. Valentine, ever the chameleon, worked the room with effortless charm, a glass of champagne in his hand, a benign smile on his face. But his eyes, whenever they met Carly's, were sharp and focused. The clock was ticking. "And now," Drew said, smiling, "a few words from our honoree, John Brennan." As Brennan stepped up to the mic, adjusting it with a practiced, humble smile, the massive screen behind him, which had been displaying the Aurora Media logo, flickered. The logo dissolved, replaced with a cascade of documents, bank transfers, and encrypted chat logs. A hush fell over the room. Brennan's smile froze. "What is this?" he muttered, turning to look. Then the audio kicked in. His own voice, cold and devoid of its usual folksy charm, filled the ballroom. "The shipment comes in Thursday. The PCPD commissioner is on the payroll, but Devane is a problem. Handle her. Permanently, if necessary." Gasps echoed through the crowd. Anna Devane, standing near the bar, went rigid, her hand moving instinctively to her sidearm. The screen flashed with images of wire transfers from shell companies to known assassins. It showed the falsified Aurora Media Foundation reports Valentine had uncovered. It showed the order to frame an innocent dockworker for a murder Brennan himself had commissioned. Chaos erupted. People were on their feet, shouting. Phones were raised, recording the damning evidence. Brennan's face was a mask of pure, undiluted fury. He scanned the crowd, his eyes wild, and they landed on Carly. She stood perfectly still, her arms crossed, a look of cold, triumphant vindication on her face. She didn't need to say a word. Her expression said it all. Got you. He knew. In that instant, he knew she was behind it. But before he could move, Valentine was there, placing a seemingly calming hand on Brennan's shoulder. To the crowd, it looked like a friend steadying a stunned man. But Carly saw the subtle, brutal pressure of his fingers, saw the whisper he delivered into Brennan's ear. The message was for Brennan alone, but Carly could read it on Valentine's lips. Checkmate. The police swarmed in, led by a stone-faced Anna. As they clapped handcuffs on a sputtering, defeated John Brennan, Drew stood at the podium, his world shattered, staring at Carly with dawning, horrified comprehension. In the ensuing melee, Carly slipped out onto a balcony. The cool night air shocked her system. She was shaking, a cocktail of adrenaline, relief, and profound sorrow. A moment later, Valentine joined her, 2 fresh glasses of bourbon in his hands. He offered her one. She took it, their fingers brushing briefly. An electric current of shared victory and unspoken understanding passed between them. To the mongoose and the cobra, Valentine said softly, raising his glass. Carly clinked her glass against his, the crystal ringing like a tiny bell in the night. To Brennan going down. She took a long sip, the liquor burning a path of warmth through her cold dread. She looked back into the ballroom, where Drew was now being consoled by Sam, his face a wreck of betrayal. The fallout is just beginning, she whispered. Valentine followed her gaze. There's always fallout, my dear Carly. But tonight, we won the war. The rest is just cleanup. He took a sip of his drink. And if you ever need another terrible idea, you know where to find me. For the first time all night, Carly's smile was genuine, if weary. It was the most dangerous thought of all. The moment arrived. Drew was at the podium, singing Brennan's praises, talking about second chances and redemption. Carly's phone, tucked into her clutch, vibrated once. A single word from Valentine. Now. It was her cue. As Drew finished his speech to applause, Carly moved. She didn't go to the podium. She went to the audiovisual technician stationed at the back of the room. A whispered name, a flash of cash, and a USB drive changed hands. General Hospital, GH, recap for Monday, October 20th, reveals that Willow Tate's, Caitlin McMullen, bail was denied, so she was thrown in Pentonville while Nina Reeves, Cynthia Watros, walked free. At Carly Spencer's Laura Wright house, she got vague updates on Jack Brennan's, Chris McKenna, deal with Valentine Cassadine, James Patrick Stewart, before he noticed her flowers were missing. Carly lied about accidentally smashing the vase and not being able to salvage what was left. Brennan admitted he was worried Carly might still be mad over the whole S. Vaughn, Bryce Durfee situation. Carly acknowledged that she was indeed still angry, but Brennan maintained that Jocelyn Jacks, Eden McCoy, was never in any danger. Carly pushed Brennan to promise he'd tell her if Jocelyn was ever at risk and reassured him about their relationship. However, Carly's expression turned cold once Brennan exited. After Carly got Damian Spinelli, Bradford Anderson, on the phone, she asked for a favor, one that even Jason Morgan, Steve Burton, couldn't know about. Carly wanted help creating a new identity, starting with a fake passport. Carly also needed a digital trail that would hold up under an extreme background check, so Spinelli seemed willing to do what he was told. In the courtroom, Willow was denied bail after being deemed a flight risk. That news alarmed Willow and Drew Cameron Matheson, but another shock came when they realized Nina was accepting a plea deal. Molly Lansing Davis, Kristen Vaganos, filled in for ADA Justine Turner, Nazanin contractor, during the court proceedings and got Nina to read a statement aloud, which confirmed she lied and was alone at the time of the shooting. Nina was allowed to walk free with a year's probation and a $10,000 fine. Willow, on the other hand, was remanded to Pentonville in handcuffs, so she lashed out at Nina as she was led away. Drew called Nina a bitch for betraying her daughter and promised Willow that he'd help her as she was taken out of the courtroom. At the Quartermain mansion, Brooklyn Quartermaine, Amanda Seton, moved forward with the tea party she planned for Veronica Ronnie Bard, Erica Slezak, who was uncomfortable as she met guests and tried to mingle. Portia Robinson, Brooke Kerr, was there ordering something decaf and acting nauseous over the food, so Jordan Ashford, Tanisha Harper, observed her and followed her out into the foyer alone. That's where Jordan pushed Portia to admit she was pregnant. Meanwhile, Martin Gray, Michael E. Knight, met Ronnie after showing up with a phone he mistakenly thought belonged to Lulu Spencer, Alexa Havens-Bruning, who was also at the gathering. Lucy Coe, Lynn Herring, Felicia Scorpio, Christina Wagner, Olivia Quartermaine, Lisa Locicero, Elizabeth Baldwin, Rebecca Herbst, Tracy Quartermaine, and Stella Henry, Vernee Watson, were also in attendance. There was a close-up of Ronnie's teacup to tip GH fans off to something not being right. Ronnie eventually began acting drunk like her tea had been spiked, so she went on a tirade after Tracy confronted her. Ronnie suggested Tracy needed some action in the bedroom and urged her to find a man for that, so Stella broke a teacup in shock. As for Ronnie, she cackled over putting Tracy in her place. In the Quartermaine kitchen, Dante Falconeri, Dominic Zamprogna, spelled out all the reasons why Michael Corinthos, Rory Gibson, might have been the one to frame Willow and shoot Drew. If Michael was responsible, Dante felt that his brother needed to turn himself in and come clean to the cops. The last time Michael took Dante's advice to do that, he wound up being tried as an adult and went to prison for killing Claudia Zachra, Sarah Joy Brown. Michael wondered why he'd ever listen to Dante again, so Dante was apologetic over Michael's past ordeal.